The reason why Vince McMahon specifically announced his WWE retirement at 4:05 p.m. Exclusive. The Rock buying WWE following Vince McMahon's retirement. Sasha Banks WWE return following Vince McMahon's retirement. Former WWE personality attacks Bray Wyatt. Alexa Bliss sends a two-word message to Vince McMahon. Let's jump right into our first story. The reason why Vince McMahon specifically announced his WWE retirement at 4:05 p.m. Exclusive. Dutch Mantel recently spoke about the timing of Vince McMahon's retirement, noting that the former WWE CEO interestingly announced the news after the stock market closed in the United States. Vince McMahon's shocking tweet came exactly minutes after the trading hours ended. Despite the unexpected developments within WWE, the company's stock price did not drop and, on the contrary, witnessed an improvement, as highlighted by Dutch Mantel. As expected, the 77-year-old veteran's retirement was the most prominent topic on this week's Smack Talk, and Dutch Mantel admitted that he was surprised by McMahon's decision. Like most pro wrestling faithful, the former WWE manager believed McMahon would not step away from the company till the time he is alive. Here's how Dutch Mantel reacted to Vince's WWE retirement. Now, as I read that today, Vince McMahon retired, and I didn't ever think I would ever hear those words. I think he would have gone until he died. The stock market closed at 4 o'clock. He announced his retirement at 4:05, said Dutch Mantel. That means no trades can be made this weekend, I guess. I don't know it. The stock is really not as bad as a lot of people thought it would be because it's back up. It went to the high, in the mid-60s, in the mid-50s, which is not too bad. The sexual misconduct allegations against the now former boss have overshadowed every other story in wrestling over the past few weeks. Amidst an ongoing investigation spearheaded by WWE's board of directors, McMahon was forced to step back as the promotion's CEO and chairman. Despite losing his corporate powers, VKM continued as the head of creative, and many didn't expect him to relinquish control of WWE completely. However, Vince McMahon stunned the entire wrestling fraternity by dropping the following tweet before SmackDown: "At 77, time for me to retire. Thank you, WWE Universe. Then, now, forever, together. #WWE #thankful, tweeted McMahon. Vince McMahon's retirement officially marks the beginning of a new era in WWE, and while his legacy will remain unmatched, fans are hopeful of seeing significant creative changes moving forward. Are you excited about the future of WWE? Let us know in the comments section below. Alexa Bliss sends a two-word message to Vince McMahon. Alexa Bliss thanked Vince McMahon in a heartfelt tweet shortly after the former WWE chairman announced his retirement. Vince McMahon took the wrestling world by storm after announcing that he's retiring from pro wrestling at the age of 77. Vince's tweet was met with responses from some of the biggest wrestling personalities in the business. Stephanie McMahon kicked off tonight's episode of WWE SmackDown and led the live audience in a "Thank you, Vince" chant. Former women's champion Alexa Bliss responded to a video of Stephanie's SmackDown address and thanked Vince McMahon in her tweet. Vince McMahon is the most influential personality in pro wrestling's rich and storied history. Over the years, several top WWE superstars have talked about Vince in a positive manner. While speaking with street journalist Adam Glynn, Little Miss Bliss recently shared her honest thoughts on McMahon. "Vince is amazing. He's incredible. He's super approachable. But obviously, yeah, you should be. He has such an amazing presence. It's always a little nerve-wracking talking to Vince, but he's great." The former WWE chairman worked tirelessly towards turning WWE into a global media conglomerate and succeeded in doing so as well. Vince's biggest victory came in March 2001 when he bought his longtime rival WCW, thus putting an end to the Monday Night War. It would be interesting to see how differently WWE operates now that Vince isn't at the forefront. Many among the WWE universe are quite excited about the company's future, with Triple H and Stephanie McMahon at the helm. Sasha Banks WWE return following Vince McMahon's retirement. Dutch Mantel believes Sasha Banks won't return to WWE despite Vince McMahon announcing his retirement on social media recently. A few months back, Banks and Naomi, her tag team partner, reportedly walked out of WWE due to issues with the company's creative team. As a result, they were stripped of the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. Speaking on Sportskeeda Wrestling's latest edition of Smack Talk, Mantel claimed that the boss and WWE wouldn't come to terms and put their issues aside. "I don't think we'll see her back, so there's no bridge there, at all, across." WWE Hall of Famer Booker T recently gave his take on Sasha Banks and Naomi walking out of the company. Booker T said their walkout felt a bit too personal. "I ain't thinking about friendships. I ain't thinking about buddies. I ain't thinking about walking out with nobody on the roster. Okay. It's just that simple. Looking at this for me, like I've looked at it for 31 plus years. It's a job, man." Booker added, "You better look out for yourself. I can name my friends on two hands from this business, and most of them aren't wrestlers. It's gonna be the camera guy, referee, you know what I mean. A couple of the wrestlers, but very few and far between that I had good friends." Since Banks and Naomi's departure from WWE, the pair have been active on social media. Interestingly, the boss was recently seen hanging out with former SmackDown Women's Champion Bayley. The Rock buying WWE following Vince McMahon's retirement. Could Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson buy WWE? On the surface, it seems like a ridiculous question. However, following Vince McMahon's retirement, there has been speculation over this incredible piece of business happening. The Rock had previously acquired McMahon's XFL brand, which has led to fans thinking the Great One could do the same with the Stamford-based company. Dave Meltzer spoke about this idea on Wrestling Observer Radio, not completely ruling it out. Stephanie McMahon and Nick Khan being named co-CEOs of the company could have an effect, as the latter and Dwayne Johnson have a great relationship. They were childhood friends. Meanwhile, Khan's sister is currently running Young Rock, a television show based on the Hollywood star's upbringing around the wrestling business. Meltzer cited The Rock's friendship with Nick Khan and the fact that he could potentially round up capital when discussing the possibility of the 10-time world champion buying WWE. His history in the wrestling business also makes the prospect more than a weird fantasy. Here is what Dave Meltzer said. Dwayne himself does not have the money to buy WWE, nor does anyone. But could he go in there and round up capital? Can they all work together and buy this company together? That is an absolutely intriguing possibility, claimed Meltzer. Dwayne loves pro wrestling. It was his family's business, and his daughter is now in it. This is not some weird fantasy. This is absolutely something that can be viable. It will be interesting to see if Dwayne Johnson even considers such a move, especially with all his other business ventures. While talk of him buying the company is merely speculation, WWE wants the Hollywood star to return for WrestleMania 39 and face his cousin, Roman Reigns. It seems like the Tribal Chief is being prepared for a marquee match against The Rock, with 2023 being the perfect time to do it. WrestleMania will be in the Great One's backyard of Hollywood, which would give him some form of home field advantage. Ryan Alvarez of the Wrestling Observer stated a few months ago that his schedule is clear for the first quarter of 2023, which coincides with the build to the show of shows. Unless that has changed recently, the chances of this dream match happening at WrestleMania 39 are pretty substantial. Do you think The Rock will have any involvement in WWE within the next year? Let us know in the comments below. Former WWE personality attacks Bray Wyatt. Dutch Mantel claimed that Bray Wyatt, aka The Fiend, never managed to get himself over with the WWE Universe and didn't impress the former. During his stint as a WWE superstar, Bray Wyatt started as the leader of the Wyatt family. After the group disbanded, he was repackaged as The Fiend, a horror-themed character. Speaking on Sportskeeda Wrestling's latest edition of Smack Talk, Mantel claimed that The Fiend didn't do anything special for him and labeled him his bathroom break. The Fiend did nothing for me. I don't get it, and I don't think he ever got over. I don't think Bray Wyatt ever got over, at all. Where would I come in there? I didn't give a HT what he was doing. That was my bathroom break. Bray Wyatt's 12-year WWE tenure ended last July as the company released him. Speaking on a recent edition of Sportskeeda Wrestling's The Wrestling Outlaws, WWE legend Brian James, also known as Road Dogg, claimed that Wyatt's lucrative contract was one of the primary reasons he was let go by the company. Look, I don't know what else they could have done with him, to be quite honest with you. I think, just like my release, they needed to trim some fat. I think he was getting paid a ton. I think Braun Strowman was getting paid a ton. You know what I mean? They just looked around and saw it. Bray Wyatt, now known as Windham, has recently teased a potential return to wrestling, courtesy of his cryptic tweets. However, nothing has been confirmed as of yet.
I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If they wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon. I got